Why was it decided to bring the exhibition to Folkestone?
Well, two reasons really. Firstly, the National Army Museum itself is closing for 2 years between 2014 and 16 for our own redevelopment, and we were looking to partner with organisations around the country so that we could bring our exhibitions to places while we were closed. More importantly, Damian Collins, our local MP, together with colleagues from Stepshort and Folkestone Town Council, nobbled me about 3 years ago and said, you must come down to Folkestone and you must walkway down Stepshort itself, down the hill, you must look at our books. And when I saw what you had and found out about the story of how Folkestone had been the launch point for 5 million troops across the sea, when I saw the books where they'd signed their names, including Arthur Conan Doyle, who'd signed his signature, when I saw the plans for the very interesting arch, I thought, yes, actually this is a really, really interesting place to come, and very, very important place to come to mark the launch and the outbreak of the war in 2014.
So it's been a long time in the making, really.
It has. 3 years. 3 years since we first went to the Grand Hotel, saw the painting of the Belgian refugees, and sat down and talked about possibilities, yeah.
What's the process and how long does it take to get an exhibition on this scale from yourselves in London down to Folkestone into the town hall?
Well, I think it's been a long process because it's been linked to our redevelopment, and this exhibition has actually been part of our Heritage Lottery Fund bid and has been sponsored by the Heritage Lottery Fund. So we went through a long process with the Heritage Lottery Fund in order to go through our Stage 1 and Stage 2 bids, which we got final word on at the end of April. So we were able to say, yes, we can definitely do this. In fact, we had already decided that it was so important to us that we would have done it even had the Heritage Lottery Fund said no. So we'd actually drawn up all the plans. It probably takes to do an exhibition as part of a year, to do the research, to find the images, to select the artefacts, to put the cases together, to actually then produce the panels. And our graphic designers have done a lot of work on it as well. And then also working with the town council to identify a location, to get the dates that the place could be open. We've then put a programme around that of educational opportunities for schools, of events, activities, lectures, handling sessions, so that, yes, there's a lot of planning goes into it. It looks, people look at it and think, oh yeah, how did that take you 3 years?
And have you got any other exhibitions going on around the country?
We have. I mean, this is our kick-off here, but actually over the next 2 years we've got 60 projects going on across the country at 30 different locations, and we're delivering on all sorts of things. We've got exhibitions, we've got educational projects, we've got loans, so there's things going out right across the country, from Scotland, Wales, and right through England as well.
How would you sum up the exhibition as it is in the town hall?
It focuses on that tipping point in August 1914 when Britain went to war, and it focuses on how in the first 8 months people were recruited and got into the army, and how Folkestone became that launch point. So we've got some amazing posters which were the ways that people were recruited. We've got some very nice things from the East Kents, the Buffs Regiment, a very funny poster which was about, come to war chaps and go on a shooting party. It's
I've seen that. It's like an invitation for a private gentleman's club, isn't it?
It's exactly what it is, and I think it gives an impression of the light-heartedness in some quarters at the outbreak of World War I, because people really didn't think it would still be going on 4 years later.
And how long is the exhibition here in Folkestone?
It runs until May next year, so plenty of time to come and see it, but a good time would be over the summer.
Damian, you're not only MP for Folkestone Hythe, but also chairman of Stepshort, so how much of a bonus is this for the town?
This is a great exhibition to have in Folkestone. It's wonderful to be working with a major national gallery like the National Army Museum, to use their expertise to work with local historians to put this exhibition on. It tells an important national story about the role Folkestone played in the war, and also a little bit about the impact that had on local people too. I think we can be very proud of the role Folkestone played during the First World War, and proud of telling that story to a much wider audience. I hope people come here to see the exhibition, to discover more about what Folkestone did.
Do you think there's a lot of people in Folkestone that don't realise the implications of what the town actually had in it?
I completely agree, and that in many ways is why we started Stepshort as a project 7 or 8 years ago, which was to tell that story, recognising that the centenary period of the First World War was the perfect opportunity to tell that story again. I think people may have, understood the Road of Remembrance was linked to the First World War. There's obviously the war memorials in the town, but I think the scale of what Folkestone did, the fact there were over 10 million movements of military personnel through the town during the war, more than any other port in the UK. The fact that people from all over the world came to be in Folkestone during the First World War as well. I think this was a story that was little known, and this year we have a chance to tell that story again.
And also how much of a community role Folkestone played when the Belgian refugees came over.
I think that's a really important story, and again that may be a story that many people weren't aware of the scale of what the town did. I mean, the town provided homes to tens of thousands of people that were fleeing persecution, fleeing for their lives after their country was invaded at the start of the war, and many of them settled here and were here right through the war period. The great painting that's kept here in the town hall shows a recreation of the scene of the refugees arriving, but it's a really important story, one we should be really proud of.
And it's taken a while to get the exhibition here, a lot of planning with the National Army Museum. When did the idea first come about, and how did you approach the concept?
The idea first came about from a meeting I had with Janice Murray, who's the Director General of the museum, and I met her. I wanted to talk to her about the broader work we were doing in Folkestone as part of the First World War centenary, and to see whether we could work with the National Army Museum in some way during that period of time. We'd had similar conversations with the Imperial War Museum as well, and the idea came up of having an exhibition here in the town. The National Army Museum are currently restoring their galleries, so they were looking for partners around the country that they could work with. And the idea of having a First World War exhibition in Folkestone appealed to them. It fitted in brilliantly with our plans, and the National Army Museum have worked with us on this project really over 3 years now, and the exhibition you see today is the result of all that work.
And it's just the start of things, isn't there? There's another exhibition at the Sassoon Gallery and also the erection of the arch.
That's right, the Sassoon Gallery exhibition opens in July. That's a photographic exhibition, again showing, I think, some really fascinating insights into life during the war in Folkestone, the lives of the service personnel, the lives of townspeople working with them during the war. People, I think, will find that really interesting. And the memorial arch will be shortly put in place on the Leas, and we're looking forward to that being officially opened by Prince Harry on the 4th of August.
And what will that mean in the bigger picture for Folkestone, how that commemorates World War I compared to the rest of the country?
I think Folkestone is recognised by the most senior people in the government as being one of the major centres for the commemorations. In terms of a community-led series of projects, Folkestone has probably done more than anywhere else in the country to mark that centenary. I think given the town's unique story and unique role in the war, that's very appropriate. So it will tell Folkestone's story to a much broader audience of people in this country and around the world. There are people coming from all corners of the world to come to Europe, to come to England during the period of the First World War centenary to mark the story of their ancestors in the war. And I hope that they'd spend some time while they're here to come to Folkestone, to follow the footsteps of their ancestors down the road of remembrance, to see a part of home that they left when they went to go and fight, and that sadly some people didn't see again.
Can these sort of events also bring local communities together when we start talking about marking the centenary of the First World War and all of the effort that is put in to bring exhibitions into Folkestone?
I think it is bringing communities here closer together. There are a very large number of volunteers, people who have a strong interest in military history, the history of the First World War, that have worked together to promote this exhibition. There are a very large number of community events that will be going on all across the district this year as well. I've met people in Dymchurch who've got their own First World War centenary project. Screen South in Tontine Street are running their excellent project, their excellent website, where people can share community stories and their family stories about Kent during the First World War. I think in many ways what will happen on the 4th of August it'll be a big day for Folkestone in marking the start of the centenary period, but it will be a start. I think people will become more and more interested in the centenary, what happened in their community, in the street where they lived, in their family, and want to share that story during the period of the centenaries, which starts on the 4th of August this year but doesn't finish until the 11th of November 2018.